Said no.
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
This is Saheed The Nigerian, and here's my perspective. I saw this clip while watching the Patrick David podcast. He had Terrence Howard on, and he had another man, Dr. Yu, who is NASA. I think he works with NASA. They had a discussion about science. They had a discussion about the universe, about the atomic nucleus, laws of certain things and physics and what have you. They had discussions about all that. But as interesting as that conversation was, it was only one part that really got my attention. Terrence Howard is, an actor in Hollywood. I think people the world over knows this guy. He acted in Iron Man. He was on the long-running TV show Empire.
I started selling drugs when I was 9 years old. I did it to feed myself. But it was music that played through my mind that kept me alive when I thought I was gonna get shot. And it was the lyrics that I dreamt about that kept me warm while I was sleeping in the streets. Music saved my life. I want Empire to be here long after I'm gone. I need to start grooming a successor, and it can only be one of you. Take that bass out of your voice when you talking to me. My two sons, both are releasing new albums. I need you to sing like you're gonna die tomorrow. Like this is the last song you will ever sing. To the Empire.
Apart from he being an actor, he has another side of his life that, he's quite a very sensible guy, and he has serious interest in physics and in science. So, and I think he has proven that with, as controversial as that may seem, as that may be, he has proven that with some people. But it is what Terrence Howard said about Hollywood that I think I'm paying my attention to today. These are some of the things he said.
Now, there's a short life in
why do you think that is, what the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take drugs. You're going through so much shit to try and deal with life. You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far. Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what Heath had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things, when you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card no matter what.
he mentioned how twisted Hollywood is and how many of these actors who probably will go to Hollywood and, they will get their pay, they will get the opportunity to kind of, become big and get paid the big bucks and what have you. And he mentioned the things that some of these actors do, especially the male actors. And he mentioned how, certain handlers and certain twisted guys, like the Puff Daddies of this world and what have you, and the fame of what he used to do to men or what he used to do to guys in the entertainment industry, and how he will probably use that to also exalt them or give them, visibility and what have you. So this Terrence Howard specifically even said that Puff Daddy tried to also, have his way with him.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to fuck you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit because the man card means everything.
This is what they do. And it clearly shows how twisted Hollywood is. As a Nigerian, as an African, I look at Hollywood that way, that Hollywood is twisted. The entertainment industry, especially that from Hollywood, basically, is twisted, if you ask me. Maybe me being a conservative person, I do not really have respect for many actors in Hollywood. Even in the past, we've watched movies in the past and what have you. I have not watched a mainstream movie, in a few years. I don't pay attention. I might see snippets here and there, but I never do watch Hollywood movies dedicatedly. I never do again. I think the last time probably I did that was probably around, I was still quite young, maybe around 89, the 90s, anything outside of the 90s. It started dropping. I started just, staying away from movies and all that. But do I know about what is going on out there? Am I enlightened enough to know, okay, this movie came out, that movie came out? Yeah, obviously. I know a few things. I know things here and there. Looking at what this man said, looking at what Terrence Howard said, it's clear that most people that you get, that gets, promoted in Hollywood shouldn't deserve respect. Being a man, they won't deserve any respect from me. And it should be from most serious-minded men. They should. As an example, years ago, I looked at how Will Smith, the first time I think I saw Will Smith, aside from how his popular sitcom, what do they call it now? The Prince of Bel-Air or something of that nature. Yeah, that popular show. Aside from that, coming into the movie industry, the first time I think I came across Will Smith, aside from his music, in the movie, it was this 6 degrees of separation. Yeah, I think it's 6 degrees of separation. And I wasn't watching. I remember, I think it was a friend of mine who was playing the movie. I think it was somewhere around 1994. I mean, 1994, 1995, or 1996, between that period. It was a friend of mine playing that movie. It was on a video cassette. He was playing that movie. And I think I came in while he was playing it. And the scene I saw was a place whereby I think it was in that 6 degrees of separation. There, Will Smith acted a gay. I think he acted a gay character. So it was that part whereby somebody caught Will Smith and one other guy in bed, and they were naked, and I was like, how will, even back then I was like, where will this person put his bums and his butts naked on TV? I was like, why will he put it on TV? I mean, why will he put it on video? So when I saw that, I was like, what the heck is going on? So since then, that was how I said, okay, so if this guy can act this role, it is obvious he's probably, into this type of things as well. And look at what Will Smith became eventually. Now, with what Terrence Howard is talking about, he said the man in that person literally dies if he will, act some of those gay roles or step down, bend over, like he said, and he was able to bend over to some of this. And, we heard stories about who was Will Smith's, handler and all that. We heard stories about that. And obviously it is clear that the man, even in someone like Will Smith, died. Like but David was, alluding at some point in that discussion with Terrence Howard, it was clear the likes of, Bieber and what have you.
Man, I mean, one of the things you're seeing, you went to a whole different place.
Sorry.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did. No matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. And what we were brought in here as men, we produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
They lost the man in themselves. And because how Terrence Howard, explained this thing will make it so superbly clear that what that man, because the man in that person, the man in that actor dies, that man will eventually, probably get into drugs, get into, all these substances and what have you. And even sometimes maybe some of them could even unalive themselves. And because maybe they couldn't be who they truly are and who God made them anymore. It's a sad thing to listen to, but like people will say, it is what it is. It is the reality of that industry. The reality of that industry. So anybody who probably wants that type of fame from Hollywood will probably need to do things that are not supposed, to be done. Let's listen to Terrence Howard again.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual energy that has always been pushing through. Like if a woman gives up her womanly right of being a mother and taking care of her family and do all those things, when you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some over greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once it go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from.
This is also part of the reason why when I looked at, these days you now have, the African music industry, like what have you, Afrobeats, which is usually led by Nigerians. You now have the Afrobeats, growing out there, becoming big in the Western world and becoming big in the United States. And you have some of these music stars from the US, jumping on tracks that involve Nigerians, and they want to, do big things with Nigerians. They are bringing in the Wizkids of this world, the Burna Boys of this world, the Davidos of this world, and every other one, like that. If you do some of those people who are big, and when you see them attracting it to the average Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian too, to the average Nigerian, they will be like, oh, this is Nigeria to the world. Oh, we have been, our noise has been, they are making a noise out there. They are showing for Nigeria positively and what have you. But the question is, do you also know that maybe many of these your guys that you seem to be supporting and you seem to be happy about, or you are shouting about that they won the Grammys, they had to bend over before they could get that side of the fame? Look at Burna Boy, for example. Burna Boy came in contact of this famed Puff Daddy, and he blew up immediately after that. His songs went across, what do you call it now? Streaming platforms all over the place. And his album came out of nowhere and won a Grammy. And he had Grammys nomination and multiple like that. So it's just something that I personally, and I think maybe a lot of us should also really understand that you shouldn't have too much respect for any of these Hollywood guys. Anyone that has, that has been able to go in contact, get in contact with them and, want to say they want to do big things. Hollywood is basically out to push an agenda, and the agenda is not godly. The agenda is not godly. And because that agenda is not godly, for Christians, for example, or for religious people, for example, I don't think Hollywood is something you have to pay attention to. Am I saying you shouldn't watch films or what have you? I'm not particularly saying that, because some people will think, oh, maybe this guy is a killjoy or whatever. I'm not particularly saying that. I've watched movies in the past myself. I've watched quite some interesting movies and what have you. Maybe because before my eyes opened anyway. But all the same, I'm not saying you shouldn't watch movies, or if you like those type of music, yeah, it's left to you. But the thing is, know that industry is twisted. Know that environment is a twisted environment. Know that it's an environment that may not even also help you spiritually. If you are a Christian, for example, it may not help you spiritually. If you dwell too much on some of the things they do may also affect you and probably affect your spiritual life if you are not careful enough. That said, back to Terrence Howard. He spoke about how they make these men become fruity and how they make these men become fluid.
Those things, when you give up those things, but when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some over greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once it go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from.
All of a sudden, you start seeing men those men who have been given, a bit of leg in the industry, you start seeing them start supporting the trans whatever agenda. They will, you just see them switch and start, talking up the LGBTQ community, whatever. You see them go to accept awards and what have you, and they will be pushing that type of agenda because some of them has been, broken through. And because they've been broken through, they had to dance to those tunes. Like they say, he who pays the piper dictates the tunes. So it's not a nice thing to hear. It's not an aspect which is a joyous thing to look into. But there are things I've researched and I've studied for the past 10, 12 years, 10, 12, 13 years thereabout. And that there were things that you will be like, you will almost puke and you'll be like, oh no. So these things are the things that are going on. That's why even actors, those who acted in the past, either in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, maybe probably even the 60s, if I had any of them that I had respect for earlier, I would start to look them like they say in local parlance in Nigeria. They will say, I'll start to look them with side eye or with one kind eye. What we mean is that you just be looking at them, in a corny manner that, hey, okay, maybe this one too have been broken through. Hearing Terrence Howard get into some of these things is just a sad reality. And I think it's best that most men should understand that they want to make men become, way too emotional these days. And they want to just push them out there and make them look like, you will start hearing people who will say, who want to tell men that, as a man, you need to connect with your feminine side. That's a crappy feminism, whatever, that they are pushing out there. They want the man to connect with his feminine side. That means to be less of a man. You watch movies today, you see that they give bumbling roles to husbands, bumbling roles to fathers and what have you. And they want to push women as to be, be far ahead. They want to push women to be, that women are powerful, are strong, are all this. But they want the man to look like bumbling fools. And like Terrence Howard said, don't lose your manhood. Because if you do, if you allow yourself to be broken through and you allow Hollywood to walk over you, it won't be nice later. So question for Africans and probably for Nigerians. Check out Burna Boy and look at how he's becoming. Check out some of these your big stars and look at how they are becoming. Just take a look at them again. But anyway, I don't want to digress. It was a very nice conversation as per that aspect that Terrence Howard had with Patrick Bet-David. And it was a very, very nice thing to look into. So please like, subscribe, and also press the notification button so that when other videos come up, and you can view that. So this is Saheed The Nigerian, and that's my perspective.